Welcome back to the Explainer. So think about this for a second. Leaving your family 10 crore rupees without any instructions. That could actually create way more chaos than leaving them just 1 crore rupee with a rock-solid plan. Today, we're breaking down why transferring wealth isn't just about picking who gets what. It's really about building a coordinated, multi-layered ecosystem of operational instructions.
I absolutely love this quote right here. Raw, unguided capital left without strict instructions is not an asset. It is a highly volatile liability. It's kind of wild to think about, right? You work your entire life to build this wealth, but without an instruction manual, that money just creates total confusion. Someone actually has to know what exists, who gets it, who manages it, and under what conditions. But a smaller amount paired with a highly structured plan, well, that builds a lasting legacy.
Okay, let's dive into this ultimate instruction manual. Today, we're looking at a 7-part legacy ecosystem, broken down into 6 quick sections. The problem with unguided wealth, core legal tools, human elements, management, family governance, and then we'll tie the whole shebang together with a real-world example.
Starting with Section 1, the problem with unguided wealth, or the chaos of good intentions.
Look, most families have great intentions, but unguided inheritances routinely set them up for absolute failure. Just imagine a grieving family suddenly discovering scattered properties, an active business, investments, and locked digital accounts after a parent passes away. It's a massive headache. Even huge celebrities, like Prince, died without a will, which led to years of highly public court battles. Outright inheritances expose your wealth to immediate dangers, public probate courts, contradictory legal documents, and the modern nightmare of fortunes locked behind digital passwords that literally no one has. And worse, unprepared heirs might actually face the forced liquidation of their own family businesses just to pay off debts, creditor claims, or even divorce settlements.
So how do we actually avoid these pitfalls? Well, wealthy families rely on 2 foundational tools to build their legal framework, bringing us to Section 2.
The bedrock here is the will and the trust. Now, a will is foundational for sure, but it is super rigid. It only covers assets in your sole name, and worse, it has to go through probate. If you don't know, probate is a notoriously slow, completely public court process. On the flip side, a trust is the preferred operational engine. It's entirely private. You can dictate exactly when wealth is distributed, like say setting milestones at ages 25, 30, and 35. That ensures beneficiaries are actually mature enough to handle the money while giving them robust asset protection along the way.
Now, what's really interesting here is this number. Under current U.S. law, there's a $15 million exemption for the generation-skipping transfer tax. By using specialized vehicles like dynasty and Q-tip trusts, families can legally bypass the estates of their immediate children. In plain English, that means avoiding a massive 40% federal tax hit at every single new generation. Your money just keeps compounding, and you lock in legal loopholes that wipe out substantial future capital gains taxes for your kids. It's a real game changer.
But here's the thing, an estate plan made up of nothing but rigid legal documents can feel, well, a bit robotic. That takes us to Section 3, human elements, where we look beyond the legalese. Enter the letter of wishes. This is just a private, non-legally binding document addressed directly to your executors and trustees, the folks actually managing your plan. Its whole purpose is to explain the family's core reasoning and values. It basically translates all those rigid legal rules into actual human reasoning. It gives vital context so your fiduciaries know exactly how to exercise their power when the answers aren't super obvious in the legal text.
This quote really hits the nail on the head. A letter of wishes brings humanity into systems designed for longevity. Estate plans absolutely require precision, yes, but a true family legacy requires understanding. It replaces legal silence with context, giving future decision-makers a much clearer path forward when priorities inevitably collide.
Now, this next part is absolutely crucial, protecting the most important part of the family, the children. Wealthy parents actively separate the personal care of minor children from the financial management of their inheritance. It works like this. The guardian, who you appoint in the will, takes physical custody and handles daily upbringing and emotional care. Meanwhile, the trustee, appointed in the trust, objectively manages the financial assets. This creates an amazing system of checks and balances. The guardian gets to focus purely on the child's development, without the stress of wealth management, and the trustee ensures the capital is managed objectively.
Of course, a plan this robust needs the right people to actually pull it off. That brings us to Section 4, management. We have to be really clear about the division of labor. Your executor handles the immediate, short-term liquidation of the estate. Stuff like settling debts, filing final taxes, handing out the remaining assets. Once the dust settles, their job's pretty much done. The trustee, however, they're stepping into long-term stewardship, sometimes across decades. They manage the portfolio and make discretionary distributions. Because this gets so complex, families often hire institutional corporate trustees to make sure the investments are handled professionally. They also bring in trust protectors, independent third parties who can actually remove a trustee or adapt the trust to new tax laws down the road.
And this brilliantly illustrates a modern twist: digital estate planning. We are talking about everything from Bitcoin, which absolutely requires offline recovery keys, to business domains that need successor managers, all the way to intellectual property like a social brand managed by a digital executor. But listen, the most critical piece here is personal data. You literally must include explicit digital privacy consent clauses, often called RUFADA laws in the US, right in your legal documents. Without this exact consent, federal privacy laws will firmly lock your family out of your email accounts. And since your email is basically the master key to resetting every other password you own, being locked out is a disaster.
But remember, the most brilliant legal plan in the world is useless if the next generation isn't ready for it. Which leads to Section 5, Family Governance.
Have you ever heard of the shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves curse? It's this phenomenon where wealth is made and then completely lost within just 3 generations. To prevent this, governance treats succession as an ongoing practice, not a one-time event. First, you draft a family constitution to capture shared history and values. Next, you host semi-annual family council meetings to talk about finances openly and collaboratively. And most importantly, you implement next-gen financial education. You might give younger family members leadership roles in a family charity, letting them practice collective decision-making way before they inherit the big bucks.
Let's see exactly how all of these tools fit together in real life. Section 6. The Sterling family example.
Meet the Sterlings. Parents George and Eleanor have built a seriously complex setup: an $80 million real estate business, a $50 million investment portfolio, and $12 million sitting in cryptocurrency. They also have 3 very different kids: Arthur, who is 28 and works in the family business; Beatrice, a 24-year-old artist living abroad; and Charles, who's 15 and still a minor.
Now, if George passes away without coordinated instructions, scenario A is pure, unadulterated chaos. A document divorce between his personal trust and the business's buy-sell agreement pits Arthur against the trustees, completely stalling the company. Beatrice gets handed illiquid business shares she doesn't even want, breeding huge resentment. That $12 million crypto fortune? Permanently lost, because George forgot digital consent language, so the fiduciaries are locked out. And without a named guardian, relatives end up fighting in court over young Charles, resulting in a highly public state conservatorship. It is a total nightmare.
But let's move to scenario B and see how this builds when you have elite coordination. The trust uses a brilliant strategy. Corporate-owned life insurance pays out Beatrice in cash, while Arthur keeps 100% of the operating business. Zero resentment, business runs smoothly. The investment portfolio uses those dynasty and Q-tip trusts we talked about earlier to completely wipe out future capital gains taxes for the kids. A trusted family friend seamlessly steps in as Charles's guardian, while a professional trustee handles his trust funds using a letter of wishes as a guide. And finally, a designated digital executor uses an offline vault to perfectly recover the crypto.
The contrast there is just staggering, right? Your family shouldn't have to guess what you wanted after you're gone. Having clarity in your estate planning isn't about being a control freak from beyond the grave. It is genuinely the ultimate act of care. The core takeaway for us today is simple: build wealth, protect it, and critically, leave instructions.
Quick heads up as we wrap up, this explainer is for educational purposes only. Estate, trust, and inheritance laws vary wildly depending on where you live, so please, always seek professional legal and tax advice before you try implementing any of this stuff. So I'm going to leave you with this final, somewhat provocative question to chew on today. Take a really close look at your own legacy instructions. Is your wealth currently an asset to your family's future, or is it a highly volatile liability just waiting to happen? Thank you so much for hanging out with me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep organizing, and I'll catch you in the next one.